Studio, 24 days to the governorship election in Edo State. My name is Habiba Oyege Oyarekwa. This evening we are going to be chatting with an artist, a singer, a dancer, and somebody who encourages the youth, a role model. Enotie Ogbebor.
Yeah.
Good. He was born in Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. A prolific, award-winning fine artist, a singer, a songwriter who seeks through consistent experiences to use his art in the quest to encourage humanity and, of course, to seek for truth and highlight environmental issues and its correlation to human trafficking, social issues which affect our society. He's deeply influenced by an intuitive style of painting, sculpting with colors and mixed media. Regarded as an authority on Benin court art, he recently photo-documented and painted the Igwe festivals in 2010 with two globally acclaimed National Geographic photographers, Carol Beckwith and Angela Fisher. His works are included in the globally acclaimed book titled Benin, Kings and Rituals, edited by Barbara Plankensteiner. Enotie is a self-taught, multi-talented artist who produced short 2D and 3D animation. He has a degree in economics and statistics from the University of Benin, Nigeria, and has entrepreneurial experiences. And he has set up Nosona Studios. I hope I got that.
Yes.
Nosona Studios, a fine and digital art studio here in Benin City, which has become a hub for training children and young artists. And of course, I did say he is a role model to the young and upcoming artists and of course the youth. So Enotie, you are welcome.
Thank you very
to
much.
our program.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Now, what are your impressions about the Governor Godwin Obaseki-led administration in the last 3 years and 9 months?
Okay.
We don't want you talking like you are painting.
Yeah. Well, I would say for the first time in my own living experience,
Yes.
I'm seeing governance that is setting the standard for doing things properly, for building sustainable institutions. You know, it's one thing to come and build a government around your personality. It's another thing to come and build systems and institutions, support them, so that whether you are there or not, these systems and institutions just keep working and ensuring they deliver the dividends of every responsible government to the people. So I think for me, for my personal experience, I've seen a situation where the governor, Godwin Obaseki, has been implementing policies which are taking care of the fundamental basics. For instance, in education, he's starting with the primary school children, and he's retooling the curriculum, the mode of learning, the way the classes are, the ergonomics of the class, the way the classes are set, and globalizing the standard so that any child who goes to primary school in Benin or in Edo State can compete favorably with any child anywhere in the world. You have the teachers also being trained to use best global practices. They are being taught to use digital platforms. And then now with the digital platforms that they have been given in the form of tablets, and with the curriculum installed in there, they all can teach across board. The same thing, uniform thing across the state. So you're giving this kind of education and exposure to all the children across the state. And the next stage is to migrate this system into secondary schools. And then look at the civil service. I mean, who does that? Who goes to build a school for civil servants to refresh them? Who creates a good environment for the civil servants to work in? Who retrains? Who promotes? Who ensures that these people get their salaries, their pension, their gratuity, whatever it is they need to get it promptly and on time. And you know, when you do this kind of thing, the main engine room of the government are the civil servants. So if you neglect them, then you keep complaining that, oh, government is offering poor services. But when you give a man or a woman who has decided to serve the state in the capacity as a civil servant, now the mere words, civil servant. So civility, something that is civil, the best, refined, and then a servant, one who is willing to serve. So you have civility and service. And then you give them a bad working environment. You don't give them the tools. How do you expect them to perform? So Governor Obaseki has come in. He's refurbishing their environment. He's ensuring that they have 24 hours electricity to do their work. They're upgrading their, from analog to computers. They are retraining them. And then the most important incentive, pay a man his wages when it is due. And when you do all of this, then what then happens is that these people can come to work dressed properly, with a proper frame, in a proper frame of mind, do their work diligently, and then also able to earn enough money to look after their own families. And this just creates, a multiplier effect, which results in productivity across the state, across board. And you can see that's what's happening in Edo State today. And then is it agriculture? I mean, you're looking at a man who is putting aside 50,000 hectares of land to encourage farmers. You're looking at a governor who has decided, okay, let's create wealth in agriculture. If people can feed themselves, if they can see agriculture as a business, not a lifestyle. It's a business. So it means that you can invest in agriculture and you'll be anywhere in the world doing whatever it is you want to do, but the business keeps running. So with that, involving people at the grassroots to get involved in farming, graduates, young people, when you see this benefit, okay, I mean, how sweet is this? The government goes to CBN, organizes the loan, organizes the farmers into cooperatives, take them, get experts to set up, give them the land, get experts to prepare it, to till the soil, to plant it, to fertilize it, to do everything on their behalf, and then they make money.
So let me ask, what is your position in this government?
Well, I've been consulting for the Edo State government in the areas of art, culture, and the restitution and museum development.
Okay. So in your opinion, what would you say are the most iconic contributions of the governor to the art and culture scene in the state?
Yes, so coming to the art and culture scene, I think first and foremostly, we have been able to achieve a lot of firsts. You see, people do not realize that culture is very important and is at the fulcrum of our daily lives. And so the governor, who is an appreciator of art and who knows the importance of culture, having read the classics himself as a first degree, decided to use this sector because that's where we are rich. We have a comparative advantage. Benin has a history of over 2,000 years. We have artifacts dating back centuries. So we have a rich oral history. We have evidence of this, of our civilization. So he decided, okay, why don't we build an urban regeneration plan? An urban regeneration plan to support tourism, to support our existing arts and culture sector, and to also ensure that this knowledge is transmitted to the younger generation, to future generations who are coming. And so, under the Ministry of Arts and Culture, they set up culture clubs across the state. And then also the Edo Fest, which had not been organized for over 10 years. The governor, with the commissioner of Arts and Culture, came up with a plan, which we are all involved in, and working in unison with all the committee members, we were able to produce one of the best Edo State festivals ever organized. And then also in the history of Nigeria, in the last 39 years, NAFES has never been organized in Edo State. And so for the first time in 39 years, the NAFES was organized in Edo State, and it turned out to be the most well-attended, the most successful, and the biggest in the history of NAFES in Nigeria. So with this kind of achievements, you have to know that this is a serious-minded person who is enhancing a sector because he's thinking of a tourism master plan. Now, when you enhance cultural activities and cultural institutions and highlight our culture sites, like Sir David Ajayi, the famous British Ghanaian architect, said, he said, Edo, Benin particularly, is the Rome of Africa. We still have a lot of ruins and a lot of things that we have not explored. And so the governor is intent on exploring these things, you know. And then also for the private sector, what he has done is to support the Edo Global headquarters where the National Studios is housed. Now, this is a 7th-floor building, which he has supported for the past 4 years to enable us create a platform where we can bring experienced artists to interact with younger artists, train them, students. You know, we have about 4 or 5 art schools in Edo State alone and in bordering states. Okay. So these guys graduate from school and then they all flee to Lagos, and then, you know, the activities here are very low. But with this, you find them practicing more and more here. The Igun Street, the increase in tourism, in business in Edo State has led to more business for the bronzecasters in Igun Street, artists, the wood carvers. It's become a more vibrant economy for the arts and culture sector.
You said Edo Fest was well attended. Were you part of the planning committee?
Yes.
So how was it organized?
Well, the thing is, we had a situation where we put together committees and we came up with a budget. And knowing that our governor insists on things being done, especially things of this nature, that as much as possible, we should try and use the private sector to drive it, you know, and leave government funds out of it, because he believes that there are critical sectors that funds, the scarce resources have to be focused on. And so with his backing, we were able to reach out to Edo people, to corporate organizations, to, you know, different personalities, and then we were able to raise the funds to organize this huge Edo Fest festival, where we involved for the first time all the 18 local governments. People from 18 local governments in Edo State were involved in the Edo Fest. We also brought guests from outside the state to add spice to it. Like we brought people from the Calabar Carnival to come and help with the costuming, with the float, design, and all of that. But we insisted on using our local talents, our local tailors, our local resources.
And of course, there was a golf tournament too.
Yes,
I recall very well.
Of course, there was a golf tournament too. You know, and so with all of this, you found that the airport was busier, the transport vehicles were, transport companies were busier, the hotels were filled, the people selling artifacts, art, cultural items like clothes and beads, and you know, it was a huge impact. And from
economic activities.
Well, economic activity rose to a crescendo, and it was projected that the total income that came in during the period, which was about 10 days, was over 3 billion. You know, so with this kind of economic activities, you can see that the government is very focused on always bringing about the well-being, improving the well-being of the people by creating an enabling environment for things to flourish. And I think that's the magic that he has brought to bear. And this can only be brought about or sustained when there's planning, there's critical thinking, there's planning, and there's execution.
This next question is a bit long, but I've tried to break it down with commas.
Okay.
Okay, I said the Edo State government has proposed to build the Benin Royal Museum in collaboration with the blessings of our royal father, Omonobanedu, Ewaye II. And of course, the National Commission for Museum and Monuments.
Yes.
And the Benin Dialogue Group. A lot of thought has gone into it. So what do you make of this plan? And do you see it coming to fruition as an artist working in this space?
Yes.
Because I want you to look at the Benin Dialogue Group. I want you to also take a look at the National Commission for Museum and Monuments, and also the role that our royal father has to play.
Yes, thank you very much. So when 3 years ago we had the opportunity to attend the first meeting of the Benin Dialogue Group since that has happened since the governor was sworn in. Now, before then, the Benin Dialogue Group had existed for 10 years. So when I informed him, because I was going to give a lecture at Cambridge University, and I met Professor Barbara Plankensteiner, who invited me for the dialogue meeting in Leiden in Netherlands. Okay. And so I asked if I could inform the governor. When I informed the governor said, yeah, he would like to go. That the issue of the artifacts at the front burner, and he would like to push it to the front burner globally.
Okay.
So he just came and attended the meeting in his normal, unassuming, simple way, sat in on the meetings, and then after listening to them, he now announced to them that he wants to go back and, from what he has heard, to discuss and get the blessings of Omonobanedo Ukwakolopolo by AY II, Oba Atokwe, to build a new royal museum, and he wants the palace to, the Omonoba to give his royal blessings, and then he invited 26 directors of the top leading European museums that have Benin artifacts in their collection to a meeting the subsequent year in Benin. And they all came, and also Sir David Ajayi, who is a famous, globally renowned architect, was also invited. And so he came and made a proposal. So after talking with Omonoba gave his blessings and offered the land opposite the palace for the project. And so Sir David Ajayi, who designed the Smithsonian Museum in DC, and who is renowned for lots of other projects across the world, was commissioned to design this project for two reasons. One, he has vast experience in designing some of the best museums in the world. And the governor wanted a situation where anything we build or design and build has to be ranked world class. It has to be something that people fly in to come and see. So the building itself has to be art, and before its functionality as a museum. And so that is how the museum project started. And David Ajayi came and showed us the work he has done so far. He has come to show the governor a couple of times what he has done. And then the governor also recruited Mr. Iheanacho, Philip Iheanacho, who is one of the lead fundraisers for Azura Power Plant. Okay. So he's in on this project as well as our lead fundraiser. Okay. And from the dialogue so far with the 26 museum directors, Sir David Ajayi, the NCMM, who will represent the federal government interest, and also with the government, it was decided about the project will cost about $100 million. Now, this is not solely for the building. There's a plan for a large-scale urban regeneration. For instance, a lot of people hear about the moat that encircled the inner. So people do not realize that there are two moats. There's the inner city moat and there's the outer city moat. Yeah. So now this moat is world famous. It has been quoted in the Guinness Book of Records as the largest man-made earthworks in the world, and so it's something that you can't just wish away. It's our heritage. It's something that, so the governor has decided, okay, let's develop a plan where you can have a walkway going beside the moat so that tourists can see how deep it is, follow the circuit like a walk. But along the path, along the path you have flowers, you have, places for relaxation, just to encourage tourism. And then this takes you to all the landmarks in the city, like Igun Street, take you to Ibiwe, take you to Oba Market, Imota, take you to Igbesama, where the leather workers and all of that. Yeah. So it's a huge master plan that he's developing. And it's like an iceberg. 99% is underwater, and only 10%, 1% is on top. So until it comes out, and so a lot of work, I can tell you for a fact, that this is the most advancement we have made for the call of restitution of the Benin artifacts in the history of Nigeria. And the governor, Governor Obaseki, has led that charge.
Thank you. All right, we are chatting with Enotie Ogbebor, an artist, a songwriter, a singer, and of course, a consultant to the state government on arts. When we come back, we are going to be taking a look at the conglomerate of museums across Europe that have signified interest to support the Benin Royal Museum. Please stay with us.
My name is Amin Amausa, a coach in Edo State Sports Commission. Take a look at the rebuilt Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium and you will see that there is a radical shift from the tradition of the past where government intervention was cosmetic. I am overwhelmed by the drastic transformation of this sports arena to an international stadium with state-of-the-art Olympic standard facilities. This new edifice has greatly motivated we the coaches and athletes in the Sports Commission. With this radical transformation in the sports sector, it is clear why the federal government picked Edo to host the National Sports Festival with several other international sports activities lined up.
Whoever thinks says Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium go better like this na another Obaseki wonder. Abeg make una clap for our wait and see governor, Godwin Obaseki o.
You're welcome back to the program. Enotie, what tourism potentials do you see from this Benin Royal Museum project?
Oh, it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a whole economy on its own. First and foremostly, you have to understand that just like every typical project that the governor, Godwin Obaseki government is involved in, there's a lot of critical thinking. And this has led us to realize that, okay, people can come to Benin to come and see Benin artifacts. And then what? So it is to decide that, okay, the museum project will be all-encompassing. You have a situation where you have the museum that will house the Benin artifacts.
Yeah.
You will have spaces for seminars and conferences.
Okay.
We will have places for people to come from all over the world to research in our archives.
Okay.
We're also building a very comprehensive archive. So people can come to do research on Benin history, on history of the Edo people, on history of Nigerian people, on history of West Africa, because it's actually going to be a center for West African art and culture, with the Benin being the prominent leading display in the collection. But it's going to be huge, so you're going to have spaces for artifacts from all over Africa. You're going to improve the scholarship, you know, in terms of spaces for research.
Okay.
We're also going to have spaces for social interaction. Okay. Because you see, people have this idea that museums are dead, a place where you keep old things and whatever things. So we are designing this museum to also incorporate a lot of artificial intelligence, computer-generated imagery, and all of that. So you can come into a room and you are seeing holographic images of heroes past, of history going unfolding before your eyes. This thing would have been meticulously produced so that you know, it can appeal to the younger generation who only know digital. You know, so you keep people coming in, and then this will also ensure that people come from all over the world to see this display in their homes, in their home in Benin, and according to global best practice, you know. And so also, the museum is going to be involved in a lot of collaborations with international museums all over the world to have programs, to train curators. At present, we're training a bunch of curators, restorers, archivists, who eventually, in collaboration with the British Museum and with the Max Museum in Hamburg. Now, the British Museum has the highest collection of Benin artifacts that were looted in 1897. And the museum in Hamburg has the second largest collection in Germany. And then, of course, we are still trying to put together something for the figures together in America, in the United States. But the figures through the Benin Dialogue Group, we have been able to put together the number of artifacts for the first time in history, the number of artifacts in each of these museums across Europe into one database that has been handed over to the governor and to Edo State government.
They got everything?
For the first time. The museums themselves were the ones who took the inventory, and in agreement with all. And so with that, there's a new project that we're working on already. It's an ongoing project. It's called Digital Benin. Now, while dialogue for institution, the Benin Museum, all things are ongoing, the next stage, what we decided was that while we are waiting, We're training personnel who will eventually man the museums.
Yeah.
But people need to have access to these works anyway. So we decided to do Digital Benin, which is being funded by the Max Museum in Hamburg and British Museum. It's a collaboration across Europe. So what they're doing is they're photographing and putting the images, the dimensions, and the provenance, the history of each artifact in their collection. Everything is being migrated onto a digital platform so that anywhere we are in the world, even anybody on a Goon Street can pick up a tablet or a laptop or get on or his phone, go into the digital Benin and see collection of works our ancestors have done over millennia, all in one place. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Good. Now, a conglomerate of museums across Europe have signed up to support the Benin Royal Museum project.
Yes.
So what does this mean for the art scene in the state?
What it means is that just like in every other sector where the governor is developing sustainable institutions, also he wants to plant a sustainable institution in the arts and culture sector. This will give a pedestal, give a platform for young and accomplished and aspiring artists to showcase their works, to get an opportunity to showcase their works to a wider audience, to get access to training, to also pick up a career in the museums. But you know, there's something that I want to draw our attention to. When we keep talking about these Benin artifacts, a lot of people do not understand it. They think, oh, these are decorative items that were stolen, we want them back, and all of that. But it goes beyond that. You have to understand that these artifacts were not created for decoration's sake. They were created for religious reasons. They were created for record keeping. They were created as utensils. They were created for just showcasing history. And so the analogy I like to use is, you imagine if the works that were created from the time of Michelangelo to present day Michael Jackson, if you are to take all of that, all the paintings by Van Gogh, by Monet, all the music by Mozart, by Bach, by Beethoven, if you take it all away from the European continent and lock it away for 100 years, do you think they will be at this level of their civilization? Do you think so? Let's assume that 100 years ago, you took all the works of Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Mozart, Picasso, all of it, and just...
No, they wouldn't.
So that's what they did to us. They took the works of our own Picasso, our own Monet, all these works that they took away in bronzes, in ivory, in leather works, and then they burnt down the city. So what they did to us was to create this gap. And so the governor is trying to bridge it, because if you know where you're coming from and who you are, then it is easier for you to find a direction. And so that is what the real essence is, to bring back the soul of our people and implant it. So that if you see what your ancestors did 600 years ago, then you have no excuse to be mediocre. You have no excuse to start producing mediocritic works, or to think in a mediocritic manner, when you know what the history of your people are, what they've achieved,
So the restitution of artifacts has already begun with the recent announcement that a cockerel will be returned to Benin by Cambridge College. So do you see this as a good sign that the government is making progress on the museum project?
Oh yes, even much more important than this. Because as a result of the involvement of Governor Obaseki in the Benin Dialogue Group and the fight for restitution of Benin artifacts, a series of events were organized at the British Museum, in various fora, Reuters, New York Times, Financial Times. We had a real, we set up a real media onslaught, and so what has resulted in that is that the whole of Netherlands have come up with a framework to enable restitution. The whole of Netherlands. So they came up with a framework, a policy framework. And then Germany has followed suit. They have also they're also working to come up with a framework to enable the restitution of stolen and looted artifacts. And so I would say that with the activity, increased activity, and they, I mean, members of the BDG say they've been in existence for 10 years. But the last 2 years when the governor got involved in these activities have seen the most progress being made in this sector. Shortly, I'm sure very soon there's more surprises unfolding as to the return of artifacts. It started gradually, and I can assure you in the coming weeks there will be further announcements of some other artifacts that are going to be returned. This is something the governor has been working on for some time, and it's finally coming to fruition. So we want to celebrate the steps that have been taken and celebrate the little victories, but we're keeping an eye on the prize, getting all the artifacts back home.
Now, these museums, were they coerced to return these artifacts to their rightful owners, or it was through the dialogue?
Well, you know, the Oxford, in the situation with Oxford, was it the Cambridge Cockerel?
Yes.
The situation with the Cambridge Cockerel is that it was donated by an individual to the institution. And so the institution has a right to return it, you know. So they are now looking for who do they return it to. That becomes the leading question. Because as you know, there's been a change in the political arrangement. The federal government, we now live in a federation. And the Benin Kingdom is now part of Edo State and part of this federation. Yeah. And so these modalities have to be worked out. I think the governor will intervene to ensure that the right thing is done.
Donation is different from taking forcefully.
Oh yeah, they looted these artifacts in 1897. We are merely saying, return them. There are some limitations that they experience. For instance, if I bequeath in my will an artifact which I have acquired through whatever means to a museum, and I state in my will that as long as that artifact is kept by the museum, preserved and displayed properly, it is not allowed to sell it, and it will be a beneficiary of my estate to the extent of some millions annually. Do you think that institution will want to return that artifact easily? So that is why we have to be unrelenting. We have to dialogue with them, we have to find a way. They have to get to the point. See, the Black Lives Matter is also helping us in this regard, because now, Black Lives Matter, you are holding our cultural heritage in your museums. Our people have no access to it. The few of us who can travel to see these things, how do we bring this thing back to the knowledge of our people? It's very difficult. And so with all this pressure coming up, they have to get to the point where they realize that, okay, across board, anything that was looted in 1897 has to be returned to the original owners, regardless of who acquired it along the way, and bequeathed it to a museum with, what you might call it, with conditions. These things have to be annulled, and then the works returned. But like they keep saying, return to where? I've been asked that question, I keep telling them, well, we have a lot of valuable things in Nigeria. We keep them in bank vaults, we keep them in private vaults, we keep them in different places, and moreover, if these artifacts were not safe, you wouldn't have seen them to loot. They were kept somewhere. You came, you saw them. Many of them were 600 years old, 700 years old. At the time you looted them. So they've been safe for 700 years. What's your problem? You know? But we also understand the fear is that these things have to be kept properly, have to be displayed properly, have to be kept according to what best global practice. And that's the reason why the governor decided, okay, in collaboration with the palace, with the Royal Court of Benin, with the NCMM, with virtually all the stakeholders, what do we do to ensure that these things, when they return, are kept properly, are preserved properly, and are put on display properly? And hence the decision to build this museum.
So how do you think the Benin Royal Museum would disrupt the space and provide more rooms for artistic expression?
Thank you. You know, when you create a space that engenders a certain type of activity, what then happens is that you have more of that activity. For instance, if you go and put a very massive swimming pool somewhere, you're going to have more people coming to swim. And so if you have this museum that has these lovely facilities, that have, it's built according to global standards. What then happens is that people are encouraged to explore these sectors, to seek jobs in these sectors.
Yeah.
Schools around, tertiary in schools also will be encouraged to create curriculum to accommodate museum studies, restoration, things that happen in that sector. And then what then happens is that you are creating a whole new sector that will provide employment, that will provide knowledge, that will provide opportunities. And then do not also forget that, with your sister museums, you can always earn a lot of money when you give works on loan. And so you have, and then the footprints. The British Museum attracts 5.9 million visitors every year. Now, if 5.9 million people coming through the door are spending £10, I mean, just go figure, do the maths.
Okay. In your profile, I read that you seek through consistent experiment to use your art in the quest to encourage humanity, to seek for truth, and highlight environmental issues and its correlation to human trafficking, social issues, and of course their effects in the society. Now let's talk about human trafficking.
Yes.
How, with the governor's handling of the Libya returnees, at the very beginning, there was condemnation from a lot of corners and all that. So you have been in Benin for a very long time. So how would you say the governor handled the Libyan returnees?
Well, for me, I think he did excellently well considering the circumstances. What he was seeking to do was sort of novel. It was not something that a lot of people could see through. He also realized that you just can't keep telling people don't travel, and then you do not create an alternative. And that is why you see the Edo Jobs Initiative, you see the Production Center Initiative, you see even our Edo Global, where National Studios is, the initiative, and the Agricultural Initiative. So what he has tried to do is to create opportunities for young people to be able to become entrepreneurs and to have an alternative to wanting to travel. And then a lot of education was also done because I helped in the public relations, creating imagery and all of that for this, seminars, talks. And, I think the most important thing is consistency. He has been consistent in the past 4 years with highlighting this problem, with addressing it, and then collaborating with the intended destination of these people who are trafficked. And so you can see that by collaborating with Italy, collaborating with European countries, he was able to ensure that it's a two-way thing. You are the beneficiaries of this of when these traffickers come to your place and you do not like the effect on your economy, on your environment, on your society. Okay, so we are setting up this and this and this to create opportunities. Why don't you collaborate with us to fund it so that we can create these opportunities? So that's why you see, if you go to the Edo Innovation Hub, for instance, they're going to see Facebook, you're going to see LinkedIn, you're going to see Google. They're all collaborating with the Edo Jobs and Edo Innovative Hub to create opportunities to train young people, to explain things to them. Because the digital economy has created an opportunity that ensures that you can work remotely from anywhere. You can be in Benin and be working for people in India, in China, because all it does, when you learn to code or you learn to design or create stuff that they require, you do it, you send it to them, you don't have to leave your country. So if you want to leave your country, you can go and do it properly. Get properly invited, go and seek a visa, buy a decent ticket to get on economy class if you want.
But it's been said that the governor is fighting a very, very strong cartel.
Oh yes, oh yes. The truth of the matter is that a lot of godfathers in that sector are well entrenched in society. And make no mistake, they are part of those who have formed opposition to fight the governor, even politically, because they know that this type of sustained fight against them for 8 years would lead to them becoming extinct at the pace the governor is going. The governor has received a lot of commendation from international bodies talking about this because he has drawn attention to the plight of Edo citizens. First of all, he did a survey. And from that survey, we found out that 80% of those who were being trafficked were coming from two particular local governments, Oriongo and Ego. And then, when we built our searchlight on Ego, we found out that Ego was merely a transit point. So they come from Oriongo. So these people go to poach for these people in the hinterland, where they know in the very deep rural areas where awareness is still very limited. And so they bring them to these places, keep them on the outskirts of Benin, Ego, and all those other places, sort of condition them to what they want to do before they move them out.
Not that most of them are originally from these local
No.
governments.
So with that, the governor was able to tell the pattern of the traffickers and to know how to go after them. And so that has led to a situation where many of them are being arrested. And then, of course, you know, he did it in collaboration with the Omonobanedo Kwapolopolo by Egwari II, who came out to make public pronouncements against the traffickers and to also give enough confidence to those who are being trafficked to speak out without fear of reprisals from whatever oaths they have been subjected to. And so you see, with this kind of collaboration and this working together with traditional institutions, he has been able to bring about a massive reduction, a drastic reduction in the activities of the traffickers, and to ensure that a lot of them are also, when they are caught, they are prosecuted. And then to also ensure that the returnees are treated fairly, they are trained, and then rehabilitated. The truth of them, and we have to also be fair to know that there's nowhere in the world where you are going to have a 100% success rate at the beginning. In the beginning, it's something that you have to keep working at. But so far, anybody will attest that Governor Godwin Noyase Obaseki has carried out the most activities in this area. And this has led, I mean, the figures don't lie, it has led to a drastic reduction in the trafficking. Then you talk about environmental degradation.
Yes.
The former director of Okomu National Park was a friend of mine. And he used to come to, you know, he used to talk to me about how he does not understand how a man can have so much passion for the environment. And I was like, how do you mean? He said, the Okomu National Park is the smallest in the country. There are 7 national parks. And the one in Edo State is the smallest. But it has the most biodiversity. And he said the governor threw a cordon around it immediately he came in to stop the loggers. Because the more you log, so it shrinks. So you find all the other animals and stuff coming back into a small area and then bringing about pressure on that area. And so the animals there begin to compete for scarce resources because they are being forced into one limited area. And he brought the attention to the governor. He spoke to me about it. And I said, should go and see the governor. He was like, how? What does he do? I said, get in the car. And we drove there. He said, come on, this is the... I said, that's the man I want to see. Come in, sit down. So you were saying what? He picked up the phone. This man is, listen to him. There's some people there. Get onto it right now. Nobody should fell a tree in that. Blah, blah, blah. And a couple of weeks later, this man now has been posted away. He called me last week. He was posted away months ago. He called me last week to say he wants to still thank me and he hopes that the governor comes back because the amount of protection and the way he was very proactive in protecting the Okomu National Park, he had never seen that kind of thing before.
Thank you very much. All right, you can be part of this program. I want to believe that a Kingsley would have been able to type it right now, 0905-170-2571. When we come back, we shall be taking a look at the entertainment industry in Edo State. Stay with us. You're welcome back. Enote, there is a question here from Osas Rio. No, just hold on a second. No, sorry, Momo Duke. It says, apart from Benin or South Senatorial District, what is the arts and culture package you have for the Edo North and Central Senatorial Districts? He said, Enotie, your emphasis has been Benin. Edo is one big family. That is from Momo Duke.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, but if you also recall, I spoke about the proposed museum being an institution that will house artifacts from all over Edo, Nigeria, and I even mentioned West Africa. Now, what the governor has done is to do a culture mapping of the entire state. So, for instance, Ososo, which is in Akoko Edo, then the caves also in Akoko Edo, and then in Esako, you can see he has continued to support the Okpekpe race.
Yeah. And
then he's also developing some additional activities because the hill climbing competition was supposed to have been planned, especially for those areas.
In Edo North?
In Edo North. But more than this, what he decided to do also was to create culture centers in the various senatorial districts. And the reason for this was that everybody can't come to Benin, to the capital, to have access to this. And so these culture centers are going to be places that are hubs for culture and art activities. They will also be fused with digital and IT activities. And so you're going to have the Edo hub, innovation hub, replicating in collaboration with the arts and culture sector in these various places. So that in one place, you can provide cultural activities, space for cultural activities. You can provide space for IT activities, internet accessibility, and then libraries, e-libraries. Now, these libraries are going to be developed in the different senatorial districts. And so there's a lot happening. And then also, don't forget, culture clubs were created all over in all schools. And these culture clubs are being encouraged to bring about a revival of cultural activities in schools. And then there's going to be statewide competition to ensure that schools compete and then they now come for the grand finale. And this is the reason why a lot of schools across the state were nominated to be part of the Edo Fest and to also be a part of the NAFest. Okay. It was like an introduction to them. And so, yeah, this is part of the unfolding scenario. There is a comprehensive study that has been done of all the cultural sites and heritage sites all over the state. And so the planning is ongoing right now. And hopefully, after the governor is sworn in for his second term, he will unfold the Grand Master Tourism Plan. That is
now, all work and no play.
Yes.
So let's talk about the entertainment industry in Edo State.
Yes.
What do you have to say?
Yes, for the entertainment industry in Edo State, I think what the governor has tried to do is to also create a platform where they can interact. For instance, the Edo Innovative Hub and Edo Jobs had come out with a series of programs to help the established artists interact with youth to pass knowledge, to train them. So they've done this for music, they've done this for movie making. At our own center, we have a monthly film festival, Edo Films, that we do, where we encourage people to do short films and then we screen for the audience who come. And then a filmmaker, an accomplished filmmaker, gives a feedback to help them improve their processes. So we've been doing that for 6 months, more than 6 months. But
are you collaborating with Lancelot Odoa Maswe?
Well, we're collaborating with Adesua, who's a renowned filmmaker. She was one of those who started the Ebony Life TV. One of the first producers who started Ebony Life TV.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
that established it and all of that before she left. So she came up with the idea, and then we gave her the place to anchor it, and then encourage her to do that. So there's a master plan coming up, you know. The whole idea is that the entertainment sector should be enhanced with training. And then facilities are being developed to ensure that people have access to recording equipment, they have access to video editing equipment, they can be trained on these things, and then they are also supported to start up.
Financially?
Oh yeah, financially and with equipment. Do Jobs has done that numerous times, so it's nothing that has not been done. And then, of course, the first time you're having statewide cultural competitions, and they are being rewarded and all of that. So I think the entertainment sector is in for a very bright future. Also, the governor instituted the Edo Ensemble, which is like a replica of the Muson in Lagos. So the idea was to bring these experienced singers to come and teach young people who are interested in singing, in choir, in classical music, in learning how to play classical instruments, or just instruments. Okay. So it's in the works to create an academy, yeah, where the young people can go freely at very subsidized rates to train themselves.
Thank you. Now, as a young person in Edo, would you say that the governor has brought a new urgency to development? If yes, why? And if no, why?
I would say yes. And the reasons are, like I stated earlier, you know, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Okay. So the governor has put in a very robust system of planning so that, and he does not plan from his cuff, off the cuff. He plans with data. See, that's what a lot of people don't understand about this government. Because imagine you have a state of 4 million people, and if you do not know your state is 4 million people, and you begin to plan for 2 million people, you're going to be in trouble. So the first thing he does is to plan, to get the data about that particular sector. Once he gets the data, he can now plan to the last person. And then with this, what you find is that all the areas are being covered, which involve young people, especially. So catch them young, catch them early, primary school. They're now being taught with a curriculum which puts them at par with global best practice. Okay. Secondary schools. You can see that with the enhancement of the environment of teachers, salaries, and all of that, you are having a more robust engagement. And then you're talking about technical vocational colleges. One has just been developed at the former Benin Technical College. The one at Igweraki is just kicking off. He has planned technical colleges for each of the senatorial districts. So the prototype has now just been completed at the Benin Technical College site. And so you find out with all of that, young people are going to have more options at their fingertips. So now that's for vocational training. Now, if you're talking about going into the IT world, you have the Edo Innovation Hub, where collaborations with LinkedIn, collaborations with Yahoo, collaborations with Google, collaborations with Microsoft, Facebook are yielding results because people can now sit here, have classmates in America, have classmates in Japan, have classmates in Turkey, have classmates in Mali, and you are learning the same standard of IT education that is found anywhere else in the world. So what it does is that it creates an educated workforce, both vocationally, and then those who can also be involved in research, so that at the end of the day, Benin becomes, Edo becomes a center where manpower, trained manpower, can be employed and taken to any part of the world, where trained manpower can be entrepreneurial and set up their own businesses, and therefore bring about employment to other young people. You see? So I think with the kind of energy where they look at sports, now a befitting sports arena has been developed. Look at the amount of mini stadia that has been developed in different primary schools across the state. So at the end of the day, you're going to, and the more are going to be built. The Games Village in Afuze is going to be prepared. So many places, because at the end of the day, when you create this enabling environment, you create a whole industry. The basketball industry in America is a whole industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Volleyball, tennis, swimming, name it. So if we give this opportunity to these people, to our young people, to get involved, be trained, and be exposed to global best standards, then they can compete anywhere in the world, earn a living, and contribute to the development of the environment or the society.
Thank you. All right, we'll take our last break now. We'll come back, we'll go to our page and take one or two comments. Thank you.
My name is Eseosa Igaro. I am a pupil of Adeusua Primary School in Benin City. Anytime I am going to school, I am full of excitement. I am excited because of the beauty of my school. Our classrooms are well furnished, and of course, our teachers teach us very well. Our teachers with new techniques and electronic devices have made learning very easy and fast. I cannot wait to be in school again tomorrow.
No be only Adesuwa Primary School for Benin, this Obaseki wonder they happen for 931 schools for Edo State. Make we clap for Governor Godwin Obaseki as he don't turn teachers to digital teachers and our children to Akowe. This message now from concerned citizens of Edo State.
You're welcome back. Now, Enote, let's go to our page. Okay, let's see. I think we've, let me see. Okay, this one is coming from Faith Owen. It's a comment. She says, I've been screaming about the beautification of the moat for so long. Thank you, Obaseki, for making it come to pass. And then Osaz Erio, although replying to Ima Ekata Q-Man, says, why not ask yourself why we are hearing about this now? Is it because of election? Again, just hearing about bogus claims. Does this mean that we actually see these claims on ground? I'm not trying to bash the government. Some good things have been done.
Okay, well, the thing is that if you see the format of Governor Godwin Obaseki, you will know that the sobriquet of wait and see was not by accident. He's not somebody who goes to commission projects and goes to put them on billboards and celebrate stuff. He believes that governance should be demystified. Governance should be carried out in such a way that you can take things for granted. You can say, okay, the governor has paid his salary, so it's part of governance.
Thank you.
The governor has done this road. It's part of governance. So he's not going to beat his trumpet. That's why you're not hearing about them. But for me, I've been in the middle of these activities. And I'm like, okay, if people do not know about these activities, then it's time we share. I'll share my personal experiences. I mean, you can see I'm talking from off the cuff. I'm not reading from a book or trying to cram any points. I was there. I saw these things. I saw the intention. I saw the vision. It's not something that he's trying to use to impress anybody. So I'm coming here to say it now so I can share with people so that people can have hope. There are lots of people out there who are involved in these activities, clandestine. I mean, on the ground, it's not something that we are screaming about because we want to achieve results. And I can assure you, if you see the kind of plans that have been put in place to achieve these things, to ensure that young people across the state can be meaningfully engaged, that young people across the state can be meaningfully educated, that young people across the state can be encouraged to become role models themselves. You see, it's a chain reaction. It has a multiplier effect. They have to become, people who can take, but who can always give back.
Thank you. Yes, in your profile, it was written that you are also a singer. So you want to sing for us? We've never had somebody sing for us on this program. Let's have some entertainment.
Okay. So what should I do? English song or Edo song?
As the spirit leads.
Okay. Well, let me say that with the coming of Godwin Obaseki to Edo State, there's a song, a famous song that took on a whole new meaning for me. And it was done by a famous globally renowned artist, Louis Armstrong. So we hear, I see trees are green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Colors of a rainbow, so pretty in the sky, also on the faces of people by and by. I see friends holding hands, saying, how do you do? What they're really saying is, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They learn much more than I'll ever know. When I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Wow, wow, wow.
Oh yeah, it's a wonderful world promised for you if you elect Godwin Obaseki as next governor. September 19th to be sworn in, and I can tell you, it will come to pass.
Thank you very much. Enotie Ogbebor.
And for those of you who think that we can't also do Benin, Ayomakuwa muge nibye. Oh yeah, yo nyeme sema. Yo bado kedo.
Thank you very much. This is really entertainment. Enotie Ogbebor, an artist, a songwriter, and of course a consultant to Edo State government. So we would like to say a big thank you to everybody that has contributed, the comments, and for those of you that asked questions, the technical crew, the production crew, we say thank you very much. And if you listened from the beginning, you heard talking about Sir David Frank Ajayi. Sir David Frank Ajayi is just 53 years old, and of course he is a Tanzanian, although Tanzanian. Yes.
David Ajayi?
Yes, yes. And then a British architect. He designed the National Museum and African American History and Cultural Center in Washington, D.C. And it says, Edo is the room of Africa. My name is Habiba Oyege Oyarekwa. Good evening.
No man is God, Obaseki Ogbebor, forward ever, backward never. Let's go further together. Godwin Obaseki Obaseki is the right candidate for Edo. Equals to continuity. Oh, yes. Togba, Obaseki, continue your work. You do Ogbe Stadium renovation, even with the do best. Plenty achievement for your time. Oh, our life will done better. Obaseki Ashaibu, now them be the winning team. Godwin Obaseki.